designers who want to come up with creative ideas. They have to have sufficient time and space, just like we were doing with the brainstorming. You've got to give them the opportunity to develop their ideas. So I think there's also a spectrum of creative people. We've got a lot of different types of creative. I think most of the projects I do are with designers. Obviously there'll be copywriters, web developers, video makers, people like that, to put together things. And they are relatively business-minded. You might also work with an artist or a sculptor or an actor. They may not be quite as commercially minded, but hey, they'll be wonderfully creative. So I think you've got to think about the balance of what you're doing in terms of a project. So if you're taking on somebody who's not as commercial, say, as somebody who's a designer working all the time in a commercial environment, you're going to have to manage the process and do more of that process with those creatives. But I don't think you should be put off. And I think if you really can clearly define what you need, to actually then have somebody coming up with some really unusual ideas. As a business advisor, people say, oh, which sector do you work in? And we say, well, we work in any sector. Because the most important thing is we don't know about the business, because we come with a very fresh view about a business and look at it differently. And wouldn't it be fabulous to have somebody who's really completely different from you to actually have a look at your business and come up with something that you hadn't thought of. So one of the things around Ambassador said that the first thing you need to do is absorb and think about something. Then you've got to hold on to those ideas and remember it. And then there's this thing of diverge out. And then when you've diverged and looked at things, you converge in. And it's much easier as a diagram. You know, you've got the, you know, what's my challenge going to be here? And then I see this as a solution set. There are lots of different possible solutions. In a project, you've only got a certain amount of time to go out, so it'll involve maybe that possible set of solutions. What happens, as I said, people who are sort of primarily 1-4s, they tend to think of something, they look at this solution set, and then they implement that particular one. So they're looking at something that might or might not be the best and optimum. What you want to maximise in a project is the amount of solutions that creative person is going to be looking at, coming up with lots of ideas. And that works best when you've done the preparation at the beginning. The more you can have gone through that process right at the beginning and prepare, the more time they're going to be able to come up because remember, that is 8 weeks to do a project. We've got October and November to do the project. They've only got 8 weeks. You want to maximise the possible solutions. You want to really prepare them well, give them the encouragement, collaborate with them, work with them, look at the solutions, and then with them, your responsibility is actually to be selecting, evaluating, and coming up so that they come up with the results that you want. And the other thing I feel is that it's good to think really about this end bit. In terms of your challenge, what do you want to achieve in your business? You don't have to define for the creative person the bit in the middle. That's what they'll come with. What you have to do is the work beforehand, and also be really clear for your business what you want to achieve and how does that fit in with your strategy. So I've shown you Min's 8-stage process. You'll find that most problems fall into this. Typical design situation would be that you would develop an outline design brief here. That's there to inspire. It's not just to tell people something factual. You've actually got to inspire somebody creative to really want to do your project. I find designers price a project lower if they think it's an amazing project. So getting your brief right is really worthwhile. Then you've got to go through the process of finding the right person. I said it's as much about chemistry as it's about skills. Do they understand their business? Only after that would you actually agree a detailed brief. Because if you've got that, so that's that problem definition between you. Once you've gone through the process of this is the problem I've got, this is the issues, what do we know about this business? You've got to have a good brief. And I find that projects that break down don't have a good brief. But I think that's after we've done the 200-word challenge. I think it's then those that have chosen the challenges to really think about that. A designer will tend to come back with the initial concepts. So that's where they're broadening out, got lots of ideas, and they bring you some of the ideas that they've got. You then say, yes, that's good, and then they broaden out again and develop those ideas. And then again, you're selecting those design. You put something into, maybe if it's a product, it could be you put a detailed specification together or even printed material, and then some sort of prototype or artwork. obviously, depending on the creative, it's going to be a different sort of process. But these things follow that process where you go out, you come in, you go out, you come in each time, and you're working towards something that really fits very well. So my view is your job is to do the preparation bit, do the fact finding, link it to your strategy, clear objectives. What do you want to achieve for your business? What are your business objectives? Don't make assumptions. I've got a lovely book about called Design, Creativity Before Design? No. Understanding Requirements. It's actually written by IT people. And right at the beginning, they have this lovely illustration. In America, you can send $10 and get a guaranteed cockroach killer. So you send off your $10 and you get 2 blocks of wood and an instruction. It says, put cockroach on block A, hit it with block B. Guaranteed cockroach killer. What people think is they're going to get a guaranteed cockroach catcher and killer. And I found again, because you're heading off where you want to go, you haven't taken the time to really make sure that a creative business understands things. You've made assumptions about what you're talking about. So try and think about it. Your job is actually managing the brief. It may be that with the less commercially minded creatives, you might be having to take a good eye on the time and the budget, the more practical things. A lot of designers will be very good at that. I think it's about, oh gosh, sorry, wrong button. It's about developing common understanding, recognizing that they may have a different language from you. They may have different values from you. They may be more concerned about having a fabulous idea than necessarily the creative thing that you want to do. I don't want to describe all creatives like that because the designers I work with are very commercially minded. And if you work on a process of good communication where they're presenting ideas to you, you give them feedback, you verify. So if you've given them information about it, get them to feed it back to you in a form that you can say, yes, that is what we both mean. So we're not heading off in the wrong direction. And collaborate. This is actually a very collaborative process. I think Caroline would say that actually it's not a case of you give them that, they go off and they're creative and come back with something finished. You will gain a lot, just like we in the brainstorming. You know, when you're working with other people coming up with ideas, as soon as somebody's got one idea, you can go, oh, actually, I can do that, or I could do that. And that's what I found in working 15 years. I got loads and loads of examples of businesses. And what happens is it changes their business. It actually changes their strategy going through a project like this. They think differently about where they're going. The biggest thing that we get out of a change in identity and communications material websites is an increase in confidence, where people say, you know, this is my business. They hand out just a business card. So it has much bigger effects. One of my clients said, I knew it would change the staff, but I didn't realise they all started dressing smarter. They all got more positive about the business. So this is a great thing. I've put in one that I use to look at possible areas of business for those of you who haven't sort of really be sure about a challenge. For me, you've got to have a strategy plan, you've got to manage things. And picking up on the sort of 4 P's of marketing, a colleague of mine developed into 8 P's, but the first area is personality. So developing a company identity, a brand image, and I separate a company identity is about the company as a whole, brand might be to do with a product, and the key thing is differentiating, making you different from your competitors. Intellectual property, you know, can you create something that's defendable? Nobody else can copy it. I've included experience there because I think increasingly we're designing experiences and looking at the whole customer experience or creating new products that are experiences in themselves. It's about creating new products or services, developing them. It might be a utilitarian change. It might be about the quality. So what we were doing with Owls Hall was actually shifting them up to being perceived as the sort of quality that they were. I actually think that small and medium-sized businesses are fantastic businesses. They do brilliant things, fantastic products, services, but you just wouldn't know it from the outside because they don't actually present themselves well. And we were just bringing what they were doing up to what they were in terms of the quality. Can you innovate? I mean, this project particularly is about innovating, coming up with new things, new ways of doing things. Al's Hall, it wasn't just about the tangible things that I show you. It was the fact that we changed the way in which they acquired clients. We got them to realise something that was obvious once we came in from outside and looked at it, that all your customers are sitting in the village that one customer is, you know, that everybody else is going to be your customers. It got them really at the beginning of the process instead of the end. And using their own customers as their best referral, because they always did have glowing reports from their customers. Again, intellectual property, can you create patents, can you trademark things, can you do things that will protect it and give you that competitive edge? In terms of products, think about packaging. A lot of food in this area, we've got agri-foods, some other examples, if we get time I can show you some examples about food, significantly changing. It's the same thing. Fabulous stuff inside, but would people know it or recognise it from the outside? Promotion, you know, both above and below line, so advertising or things that you do in terms of exhibitions. Again, can you differentiate it? Can you do something different? We were giving out a voucher for plants. Can you pass information out? Caroline's is a good example, and we've done quite a bit, where we redesign the way in which they collect or communicate information. Not quite the same, but Dutch tax got designers involved to redesign their tax form. They collect way more tax, far less wrong things, it takes everybody less time. So forms, things that go out to, say, a doctor, well-designed forms can get you the right feel. Lastly, place, which I've included websites, not just premises, because to me, a website is a place. Although a website, there's absolutely everything. So there is, you know, virtual products and services are websites. You can use it as promotion, you can use it to develop the personality of your company, the whole internet now. So premises might be about space use, it might be about style and the way in which you do it. What you've got to understand is that you need to be managing this whole set. You need to think about the whole thing, because that's the perception. People don't buy the reality of what you do, they buy their perception of your business. And that perception determines the price, and the price determines the profit you're going to get from your business. So think really broadly about your business and all the ways in which you communicate. And in terms of creatives, it can be the way you answer the phone. You could have an actor come in and help you change the way everybody talks on the phone to people, or maybe the way in which they talk about the company. You've got lots of opportunities there. I think it's a hugely opportunity-rich environment for you to do something for your business. So just lastly, to actually give you some sort of structure to thinking about a challenge. We had a go at it, looked at the blank piece of paper and said, oh gosh, how do we fill this in? And I got my colleague to have a go at it, and I've got an example that he's come up with as an idea. But I think the old who, what, why and how would do us. Probably when is October and November. But you know, why? What's the business issue? So what's happening in your marketplace? What's going on? What's your competitors doing? What's you trying to achieve as a business? I think we need to know that. That gives us an understanding of why you want to do this challenge. What is it? So what's the business objective? But in this particular creative project, what are the aims for that particular project? What are you getting it to achieve for you? Is it a higher profile? Is it brand new products? What are you looking for? The scope of the project, what would you like it to cover? What are all the elements of that project? Who's your target market? Who are you trying to do this for? And maybe how? Which creative skills do you think are needed for this particular project? That just gives you a starter. This is not prescriptive in any way. It was just to give you some headings that might help you to actually put your challenge and describe your challenge. So this was my colleague's first go at it, and we structured it under that. So his idea was, we run a small family hotel which has been hit by economic situation. Fewer visitors are coming, and those that tend to be staying for shorter periods and spending less. Many people are seeking deals. There's a pressure to offer discounts or reduce prices. One bit of business advice is put your prices up. It's the biggest significant change that we make to businesses. Put them up, don't discount them. Any business advice tells you to discount, ignore it. Put your prices up. Keep them going up steadily, put them up. People's perception of a product or a service is usually indicated by price. Most of the changes I've made for businesses include put the price up. You've got to make sure you've got the perceived value, but get your prices going up. So don't submit to that pressure. At the moment, we use our website to attract customers. We also receive referrals from the local tourism development. So the background. Our objective is to attract more older customers than we currently do and to increase the average duration of their visit. Probably you would put in, if it was a real business, some things about profitability, increase, or numbers of businesses you're trying to sell to, something like that. Innovation objective. We need to find new ways to stand out from